I am in polygamy hell.
More than anything with Kody is I don't feel like I'm very important to him.
Mary, I have a very difficult time like visualizing us in the future.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Today, and I've only spoken about Sister Wives, I think one other time on this channel. I used to watch the show religiously. That seems kind of funny to say that. I used to watch the show religiously and then I kind of fell off because it just wasn't really interesting to me anymore. You know, unfortunately, it's like the kids are getting older, they're growing up, they're moving out, and it's less, I guess it's like less compelling to just see like 4 or 5 really adults just nitpicking at each other all the time. But this season really, and especially with Kody, has a lot of people talking. The way Kody is dealing with his marriage troubles, the way he's interacting with his children, the way he's responding to the pandemic has a lot of people frustrated and really, I mean, I guess from what I've heard online, the tide had already been turning against Kody. A lot of people have, especially with the way he's treated Mary, and you can have your own judgments of Mary for her staying in this really unhealthy, unfulfilling marriage. But now he's starting to treat Janelle and especially Christine in the same manner. And it's really, people are really fed up with Kody and his bullshit. And we're going to talk about just the season 15 and especially the season finale in this video. So let's jump right in. So Cody's decision when the pandemic hit was that he would be the only person that would travel between the homes, and all of the wives and their children would quarantine separately away from each other. This we saw be really heartbreaking as we saw a lot of the kids have birthdays. Christine had a birthday. Hunter had a graduation. A couple of the kids graduated from high school. And the family was separated and not really able to celebrate those milestones together. And really, it was Kody and Robyn as well that were more insistent on this dynamic. Pretty much Christine, Janelle, they wanted the families to be able to get together. You know, Christine has young children. We saw this really heartbreaking moment with Truly, where she so badly wanted to be able to play with Robyn's kids and she wasn't able to, and Kody kind of like pushed her off. And it was just so, you know, a lot of people just said like this dynamic, this setup, really, I think the only person who didn't really have a problem with it was Mary, because as she says, and she gives 0 fucks this season, she just puts all of Kody's shit on full display. No better exemplified by the fact that, you know, Mariah and Audrey come and they quarantine for a week at Mary's house, and then they're off to run the bed and breakfast, and Kody has no idea, because that's how much of a shitty husband and father he is. So really, Mary was the only one who didn't have like a really big problem with this setup. But something that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me is Robyn harps on the fact that she's high risk. And I believe Solomon, he had like a lung infection when he was a baby, so he's high risk as well. She's had pneumonia.
I've had pneumonia and I'm a high risk because I've had pneumonia. I actually believe there are other members of our family that are high risk too.
So one of the things that we were advised early on as how to like properly deal with the pandemic and how to socially distance and how we could do our part to keep everyone safe, especially the high risk. So I have elderly grandparents who I have not seen in over a year because they told everyone to stay the fuck away from them. They didn't want anyone coming over. They didn't want any visitors. They ordered all their groceries. They hardly left the house. I think maybe a handful of times for like doctor's appointments, and that's it. Like my grandfather's 90 years old. So, you know, if someone high risk and elderly gets it, it's not good. So for people that are high risk, you know, people that were in nursing homes, they weren't allowing visitors. You would think that Kody would be, if he's out and about, like working and going from house to house, Robyn should be the wife he's quarantining away from, not with the most. So right there, his logic is flawed. So for all the other things of him getting down on Gabriel and Garrison about working and having a social life, all of that is kind of a moot point if you're subjecting your most high-risk wife to the pandemic every single day. And for her part, Robyn, if she's super concerned with getting sick and super concerned with her kids getting sick, she should have followed Janelle's lead and banished Kody from the house. Kody has said so many really just like unreal, like unbelievable things regarding his marriages and his family. The title of this video is he sees the family as an obstacle to his own goals, which he said in the season finale, which isn't the goal of plural marriage or this covenant that they're in, fellowship that they're in, to like build this eternal family with a whole bunch of kids. So how is this an obstacle to that goal? Because the wives don't worship at your feet and believe every line of bullshit you tell them anymore. He said this in the season finale. He said, I love everyone equally, but you're making choices so that I'm not going to come over. Meaning Christine, she went to visit her, I think she visited McKelty and some other family members. You know, Janelle is not like being as strict as Kody would like with Gabriel and Garrison. And so for that, Kody is putting his neglect and manipulation of the family and this situation completely on the kids and on his wives, and not taking any ownership of being a neglectful father and husband. It's really rich. Additionally, no, you don't love everyone equally if you're not even putting any effort into your relationship with Mary. And look at how you're treating Christine. So no, like if you're treating everyone supposedly equally, you wouldn't clearly favor Robyn. And, you know, a lot of people have commented like, why does, you know, Mary is just as complicit. Christine is just as complicit. But we'll touch on Christine in a second. Because they're choosing to stay in this marriage. And it's like, I have to think, you know, I believe like marriage is forever. Like I personally, I don't believe in divorce. I believe that you work through the problems. Now, that's not to say if there's, you know, infidelity or abuse or whatever, that you have to sit and subject yourself to that. Absolutely not. Get out, run fast. But simply because you hit some roadblocks doesn't mean you just cut and run. That's like my personal take on things. So, but with that being said, I expect for my husband, and you guys have met my husband, and he's going to be on the show on Saturday because we're going to talk Seeking Sister Wife. I expect for him to fully and equally participate in our marriage as well. We're not just going to stay together because and be miserable together. That is so baffling to me. And I don't think that that is what God intended when you took your eternal marriage vows, Kody. I think he meant that you nourish the relationship. You have to tend to the relationship. You don't completely ignore the relationship and think that God's going to give you a pat on the back simply because you didn't leave these people destitute. I don't know. It's baffling to me that he thinks that he is this high and mighty, exemplary father figure and husband simply because he's not divorcing these wives, but he's really doing everything kind of like what Mike did with Natalie on 90 Day Fiancé. He's pretty much doing whatever he can to make them leave him so he can come out and look like the victim. Again, putting it on them. And that's completely manipulative, and I hate it. Another thing he said, and this was like, wow, like, wow. He said, love really isn't unconditional. You have 18 kids, and he has tweeted out about like Gabriel and Garrison, and we're gonna touch on Isabel and that whole bullshit. But wow, love really isn't unconditional. That's unreal. That's unreal. It's not factual. You know, there are instances where love can be very conditional, but I think the point when you get into marriages and having kids, my love for my child completely unconditional. Completely. So I don't understand that. I don't understand having 18 kids and uttering that sentence. And maybe he can say, oh, I wasn't talking about my kids, I was talking about my wives. But still, like, I consider my love for my husband to be unconditional. We're still relatively newlyweds, so I get that. Like, we haven't faced like a whole bunch of challenges, but we got through quarantine in a 700 square foot apartment. The first year of marriage is extremely difficult. Having a newborn is extremely difficult. And there's no one that I would rather do life with than my husband. And I don't understand. I just don't understand. And in that case, I go back to what I said about I believe like marriage is a forever thing, that people should take your vows seriously and you should tend and work at marriage every day. But if that's your attitude, then I don't support I'm not a supporter of just staying together for the kids. I'm not a supporter of anything like that. If this is setting up a really toxic environment, and there's still young kids, Christine still has young kids, Robyn still has young kids, this is so toxic of an environment for these kids to grow up in. I wanted to touch on the discussion that Christine had with Kody and Isabel regarding her surgery. This had a lot of people just absolutely disgusted. So let's take a look just at this is what went down.
Why don't we put it out 6 months because of the pandemic? Listen, I'm not flying there. This is the thing, you guys. I'm not going to New York.
We're not waiting 6 months to get the surgery. We're not waiting another 6 months.
I'm trying to do what's right for Isabel.
I understand.
They wouldn't have the surgery or give us the surgery if they thought it was unsafe.
If you're going to go do the surgery, what are we going to do? Do we send Isabel by herself?
Did he really just say that?
Okay, so I love that Kody is the arbiter of determining how much pain Isabel is in and what, like, how worthy this surgery is. First of all, if it's not, they were cutting down at this time, you know, like super recently into COVID, they were cutting down significantly on non-emergency surgeries. So Kody, with all of his, you know, eternal wisdom, and he's speaking to all of his doctors, could have posed that question, like, you know, are you guys doing, you know, elective or non-emergency surgeries, and who, like, how do you determine who gets what? You know, he could have asked those questions out of concern for his daughter, but he decides that they should wait 6 months. I know at this point they had no idea how long this was going, or quarantine was going to last, but we're still not out of the woods. So how long was she supposed to suffer? Additionally, him suggesting that she possibly go through this alone, had my head spinning. I had my gallbladder surgery in May of 2020, and I had to do that alone. I had to go to the emergency room, be admitted to the hospital, and go through that entire experience alone because we weren't allowed visitors. I was extremely depressed at like just not having my husband, not having my mom, missing my baby. I was in the hospital on Mother's Day, my first Mother's Day. It really sucked. And so I can't believe that he would even suggest that to his own child. And she probably would have had to go through the surgery alone at this point, but she needs help to recover. You just don't recover from spinal surgery like that. And I have to wonder if it was one of Robyn's kids that needed some sort of surgery or some sort of procedure, would Kody feel the same way? He also got like kind of down on Janelle for going to help Evie, Maddie's daughter, when she was gonna have a surgery and get fit for a prosthetic. Oh, what the fuck? Ultimately, this season culminates where they're back at Coyote Pass, and you know, Christine is posing a suggestion to the family that they now move back to Utah now that polygamy has been pretty much decriminalized. I had a question though, that they keep saying like the effect is basically like getting a parking ticket is how like illegal it is in Utah. But like if you're parked in a spot you shouldn't be parked in, you can get like multiple parking tickets. So I'm just curious, are they only gonna cite you once and just say like, we know you're polygamous? Are they gonna keep like issuing you citations? I was just really curious about that. But anyway, so Christina is making this push. None of the other wives are on board. Also, none of them super want to do anything with Coyote Pass. So now they're just all kind of separate. They're not even living on the same street or seeing each other. I still don't understand why they moved from Vegas. That seemed pretty much like the most ideal situation where Kody wouldn't have to be like spending a lot of time like driving from house to house. The wives also have their own separate spaces and autonomy. I fully understand why Christine does not want to live like everyone in the same house, especially as the kids are getting older and now they're going to be like empty nesters. It's just going to be you listening to your husband bang his other wives. No, thank you. So Christine like really hits her breaking point. Take a look at this.
All right, I can't do marriage with Kody anymore. I don't want to.
Just look at the mountain.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Don't go there. Just go at the mountain. Then make it enough.
It's not.
Then make it. You don't get to give up like that.
What I really wish happened in this clip is not Mary being like, hey, look at me. I've been miserable for 5 years and I'm doing okay. Like, just look at the mountain. I wish Mary would be like, you know what, Christine? Meet me at 10 tonight and we'll get out of this shit together, girl. And like, just live their best lives. I just was like, Mary, don't convince her that this is like some ideal way to live in your marriage when Christine is like, no, fuck this. Like, I don't want this anymore. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens next season and how much more miserable Kody is going to get and how much more miserable he's going to make all the people around him. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you think. What did you think of season 15? I haven't heard any confirmation that a season 16 is going to happen, so we will see what happens. This was kind of also, and it's no fault to them, but it really just hugely went downhill when they went to like just self-filming because it was just like the same thing for like 4 or 5 episodes, right? So, but again, how much different would that have been this season anyways? I think Mary was absolutely right that quarantine really just put a shining light on the dynamic of this family and how like broken it is. You know, I was watching a clip of season 1 of Sister Wives the other day, and just how like affectionate he was with Mary. It's really stunning to see like how toxic this marriage has become. And it really makes you question, like, this is not a good endorsement of polygamy whatsoever. I'd be really interested to see like a polygamous couple or polygamous family that has been together for as many years as Kody has been with his wives, has as many children, and the wives are actually happy. I would love to see a depiction like that. But anyways, you guys, let me know what you think. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Reality Squad, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.